Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is the third in a series about the G center, which is what we think of as the heart center, but we're going to get to talk about both parts of the heart center today. We're continuing with our exploration of the individual circuitry that runs through the G center. In our first video, we looked at the knowing circuit and how that ran through the central channel. Then last time we looked at the integration circuit, which is over here on the right-hand side of the body. And today we're going to look at the centering circuit that runs from the sacral through the G center and to the will, and from the will to the G center to the sacral. If you haven't had a chance to watch, especially the first one, my recommendation is that you go and watch the first video. And if you can, watch the second video as well, as they will give you some foundation for understanding what we're talking about today. After today, we'll have two more videos that are going to focus on the collective circuitry, the sensing circuit and the logic circuit that also run through the G. You can tell it's a busy center. Okay, let's go ahead and get into it. The centering circuit is an interesting circuit. It's one of the two smallest circuits that only have two channels. So it runs from the sacral center up here through the right-hand side of the body into the G and out through the G over to the will, and from the will up here in through the G and down around to the sacral. This is a particularly potent channel because it has two motors in it, right? Both the will and the sacral are motors, and the sacral is the most powerful motor in the chart. Because it has so much power, it's very influential. It has what we call aura busting qualities, right? Which means it's influential, it's penetrating. When this energy is activated, you can feel it. Like if somebody has this defined in their chart, you can feel that energy when it comes your way. Or when you have it, other people can feel it when you're coming their way. I have 3 out of the 4 gates in this. And the other circuitry that has this is the defense circuit, which is in the tribal circuit that goes from the spleen through the sacral to the emotional solar plexus, right? So that's also aura busting energy. In the case of the sensing circuit, similar to the defense circuit, there is no outlet to the throat, okay? It's completely down here in the body, and it's not necessarily connected to the throat. Because of that, it's not expressive in that kind of verbal way, and it's not necessarily activating. It's very individual energy, and so it is about this kind of leading edge consciousness that we've been talking about. It's where we get breakthrough ideas. It's where we get really different kinds of perceiving the world, different ways of thinking, different ways of feeling, different ways of engaging, with each other and so on. So this is an energy that is kind of pushing that leading edge. And because it is an aura busting and very influential energy, it's something that other people can pick up on. And if they're interested kind of in what you're doing, they might be like, I want to see what you're doing. I kind of want to do what you're doing. Because it's individual energy, the person who has that may or may not be so interested in having you come along, right? They might, but they might not. They probably are going to stay focused on what it is that they're focused on, but they might like having you as some company, but that's not the priority for them because this is individual circuitry. They're going to mostly be focused on their own energy and how that is influencing and directing them. But you can also feel that from somebody else, and it can be quite appealing, especially if you have any of these centers open and then you pick up this energy and amplify it. It can really kind of draw you in. It can be attractive and even a little bit seductive. Not seductive in a sexual way, but seductive in an energetic way because it is potent. We can see that this channel runs through the gate 10 again. We talked a lot about the gate 10 in video number 2. So if you haven't seen that, you might want to go and check it out here. The gate 10 is the gate of self-love. It is on the G center, and it's a complicated gate, partly because it has 3 different channels that run through it. Today we're just going to talk about one, but it has 3 different channels that run through it, so it has a lot of different kind of inputs going into it, and the energy's moving in and out of it. It also has a kind of gnarly shadow side, which is blaming other people, or a disempowered side of attracting blame or blaming oneself. And the higher expression of it is always going to be an appreciation and love of self, a way of accepting yourself, knowing that, you're not perfect and that's okay. And that you're not necessarily striving for perfection. You're striving to be the best you that you can. And that when you fall short, you just, give yourself a hug and you say, okay, we'll do better next time. Right? So you want to watch out for self-criticism with this, and when the self-criticism gets too painful that you might be criticizing other people. Reel all that back in and flip it around and turn it into really a sense of, wow, I'm actually pretty great. I'm going to start believing what other people tell me about myself instead of rejecting it and not thinking it's not true and that they're just being nice to me. I'm actually going to take it in and I'm going to let it uplift my own self-concept. In this channel, we've got pure life force energy coming from the sacral center, coming right up through that right-hand side of the body into the G center. So think about this for a minute. So pure life force energy, super strong, again, nonverbal, kind of primal energy. The 34 is known as the busy gate, on the gate of power. And it is the only gate on the sacral center that's not really charged with any kind of sexual energy. It's just energy to get shit done, basically. And it can be a huge ally in terms of being able to engage with the world and to create and kind of make things happen, right? But it can also be a problem if we kind of allow that energy to spin us around in circles and we end up being busy, and we're not even sure what we're busy about, right? So you want to be able to get a handle on the power of that 34. And as it flows into that 10, you want it to be directed there, not with a lot of busy energy that might make you frenetic and that might make it hard for you to feel your self-love, but for you to really be able to manage it and direct it and say, I am bringing juicy, rich, potent life force energy into this beautiful heart. And I'm going to do that by super energizing my self-love. Remember, this is individual energy, so it's not about receiving love for other people. It's not being concerned about what other people think of you or don't think of you. It's not about proving yourself to anybody else. It's simply about you and your relationship to you. I said in the earlier videos that self-love is kind of the final frontier in terms of our spiritual and personal development. And this is a great place that we have where we can be uplifting our sense of self-love with this potency of the gate of power and with this pure life force energy. At the same time, because this is aura busting energy, right? It's influential and it's penetrating. You want to be aware of the influence that you have on other people and to be aware that how you are loving yourself or appreciating yourself and accepting yourself or not is going to be felt by other people. So you can help influence other people simply by you uplifting your own relationship with your own self-love. Pretty cool, right? Because it's going to transmit and people are going to feel that. Some of the things you want to look out for, well, the G center is the center for love and lovability, identity and direction. So lovability is definitely one thing, but there's also worthiness and deservedness, and how you think about yourself and also how you treat yourself. Remember that the sacral is always going to be responsive. And so what is the sacral responding to? It's going to respond to your self-concept, the way that you hold yourself, to your identity, right? Because that's part of the energy of that G center. So a question you might ask yourself is, what are you giving to the sacral for it to respond to? Right? What's the energy that's in that G center that you're giving the sacral to respond to? Now, the other side of that is, what are you giving your energy to? Are you supercharging your sense of self-acceptance and self-love and self-appreciation? Or are you supercharging your self-criticism and even your self-loathing, right? So it's up to you. You have a choice. Now, on the other side of the G center, we have the channel 2551, which is known as the channel of the shaman or the priestess in traditional human design, or higher purpose in quantum human design. This is a lovely channel. It's kind of intense, though. So it is the channel that connects the two parts of the heart center. So according to the story of human design, in the late 18th century, the heart center, the heart chakra, split into two. And part of it is the G center and part of it is the will center. And they are connected through this channel. Now, it's really beautiful because it's coming from the love of spirit, which is the gate 25. And on the will center, it is the gate of shock in traditional human design, or the gate of initiation in quantum human design. And when we've got this whole channel defined, the 25 really uplifts the energy of the 51. The 51 can be kind of intense because it is the gate of shock, and which means that if you have this defined, or you're picking it up from somebody else, it means that you can be shocking, or you can be receiving shocking experiences from outside of you. You can see how this can get pretty gnarly pretty fast, whether that's in the shadow aspect where you're using shock to manipulate and trying to control other people, or whether you're disempowered and you're receiving shocking situations from the outside. In its higher expression, it is this initiatory energy. It is a way to help us to disrupt our patterns and to be able to move into a higher level of consciousness, which is what the gate 25 is like always inviting us into. It's saying, come here into the heart where we have the love of spirit. And so the power that's in the will center, remember that the will center is a motor in the chart. Like all of the motors other than the sacral, it has somewhat inconsistent energy in the sense that the will center is said to work to rest, which means that there is power here to work and to engage, but then there's a need to rest. It's not that long-term sustainable, ready, reliable energy that the sacral provides if you're taking care of yourself. So with that will center, there's a little bit of a pulse, there's a little bit of a like work and rest and work and rest, right? So it's kind of interesting because on one side, you've got this kind of pulse that's coming from the will center. And then on the other side, you've got this really consistent energy coming from the sacral. But both of them are really fueling the power of this heart center, this G center. Again, this is individual circuitry. So it is about being different. It's about bringing change. It's not about fitting in, right? It's this kind of leading edge kind of consciousness, right, that we're talking about. And you can see how the channel of higher purpose, or this initiation and love of spirit, how that really fits nicely into that. At the same time, this love energy, the love of spirit and the love that is going to be inherent in the heart, right, is also inviting us to be aware of our influence on other people, or our impact on other people. How is what we're doing reaching out into the people who are in our lives and the people that we might not even be aware of that are going to be touched by what it is that we're doing. And the invitation is, yes, to disrupt the patterning and the programming and the conditioning that is not serving us, that is keeping us small or keeping us disempowered or making us want to have power over other people, disrupting all of that old paradigm energy in order that this kind of higher order of energy can come through, which is about connecting into that love of spirit, and to be able to do that with the heart. So again, this channel could be asking you, what are you giving your energy to, right? What are you fueling with this power of the will? Are you fueling a sense of your love and lovability, your own value, your worthiness, your deservedness? Because that value lives in the will center. That will center is the center for money and for value and for worthiness. So are you fueling your own worthiness and then bringing that in to supercharge that G center, right? Or are you in a place where you're feeling unworthy and not valuable and you're questioning your place and so on? Because that's going to be a drag on your G center and your sense of identity and your sense of direction in life. So when you can learn to step into really trusting the divine order, the flow of life, as I like to call it, or the universe, whatever your name for spirit or for source is, when you can cultivate your belief, your faith, your trust in that, and use that to help to activate your G, but also to uplift that energy of that will center, because most of us have an open will center. Okay, 7 out of 8 of us have an open will center. And what they say in traditional human design is the people who have it open are the ones who lack worthiness and self-value and so on. In my experience, having done hundreds of readings at this point, people at defined will centers can have those issues too, especially women, because we tend to get really programmed by the overculture into not thinking that we're worthy or thinking that we're valuable. I mean, this is, millennia of patriarchy that has taught us this. And if you're a woman of color, it's even more extreme. So all of those things can program a defined will center as well as an open will center. And you want to look, if you're a woman or woman identified, then you want to look at the primary female role models that you had in your life. Because if, like your mom or the other primary female role models did not have a sense of worthiness, did not have a sense of their value, you probably took that in and imprinted it, whether your will center is open or if it's defined. So given that, you have the opportunity, whether, this center is open or defined, to be grabbing a hold of that worthiness and value for yourself and to be imprinting yourself with that. And when you do, that love of spirit is going to be really opening up and receiving it. Because here's the thing, spirit is always loving you. Spirit is always compassionate towards you. Spirit is always aiming to uplift you. It's always saying, let's expand into a higher consciousness, into a greater, universal or agape love. It's always inviting us to do that. It's just our own programming that keeps us from being able to feel it and keeps us from being able to express it. So here with that 2551, it's both a challenging channel potentially because that 51 can be shocking and you can be receiving shock from it, but it's also huge support for your evolutionary journey. And just remember, this is aura busting, so whatever you're doing with this energy, other people around you are going to feel it. So just be aware that you are having an impact. And though you might not want to put that at the top of your priority list the way you would if it was tribal circuitry, it's good to know that we're in the world with other people and that we can have some responsibility for how our energy is flowing out into other people, right? And the more that each of us individually help to evolve and uplift our energy, the better off it's going to be for everybody. And because the G center is the center for identity and direction in life, it is connected to this sense of purpose, right? This is the channel of higher purpose. And the one that we talked about in the first video, right, is the gate of purpose. So all of this is being activated here, and we want to be able to elevate this energy as much as possible. Partly because it makes us feel better. But also because it makes us more magnetic and more attractive to what it is that we really want in our lives. Let's remember that the gate 2, which is on the G center, which is about allowing and receiving, is where the magnetic monopole is located in the human design system. And this is the magnet that attracts things into your life. So the more that you uplift your energy, the more powerful your energy is going to be, because uplifted energy is more powerful. But also the more that you're going to be attracting in the things that you want that are more of a higher vibration, because you're going to be bringing yourself into vibrational alignment with those things that you want, whether that's like a great relationship or a wonderful business or more prosperity or a healthier body or more vitality or more of a sense of purpose and how you can contribute to creating the new world that we'd be happy to leave to future generations. Whatever that is, just really taking on that energy and taking responsibility for it. And just as a reminder, it doesn't matter if you have these different parts of the chart that I'm talking about in this series defined in your chart or not. You have all of them, okay? You have the entire chart. What's going to differ is what's colored in or what's white, what's defined or what's not. And when it's defined, you have a ready, reliable, consistent, and even fixed way of experiencing that energy. And the white parts or the undefined or open parts are where you're going to have variable energy. So some are going to be more consistent, some are going to be more variable. They are all subject to conditioning, okay, subject to programming, and they can all be changed. It's just that when it's defined, it's something that you're going to have more familiarity with and is going to be more embedded in your system. And the parts that are open, are going to be a little more flowy. But I know from my personal experience, I have deep relationships with the open parts of my chart. So it's not like you can't have access and really develop those parts of your chart, because you absolutely can. Okay, that's my video on the centering circuit. Next time we are going to start with the sensing circuit and how that is running through the G center. Okay, many blessings, much love.